One attraction above all others at Disneyland makes guests ask the question, how? How do I ride? How do I get a boarding pass for Rise of the Resistance? Is it possible that I can't ride Rise of the Resistance? As you know, before the parks closed, Rise of the Resistance was using a boarding pass system, which is just another word for virtual queue. And you had to be in the park by 8 a.m. if you wanted to have any chance whatsoever of getting one of those coveted boarding passes. And in a matter of minutes, every reservation was taken for the entire day, be that, right away at 8 a.m. or 12 hours later at the end of the night. Show up at 9 a.m. and you had no chance of getting one. And it's been confirmed that when the parks reopen, Rise of the Resistance will again be using the boarding pass system. And not just that rush one at 8 a.m., but an additional distribution at noon. Otherwise, not a lot is known about how the distribution process will work. So in this episode of Fresh Baked, we're going to take you through the process as we knew it in January of 2020, with the hopes that this is at least a good primer for how it might be when the parks reopen. We'll show you the initial process of trying to join a boarding group, how to track your status throughout the day, what protocols are in place today for getting a boarding pass, how the virtual queue looks and functions as of now, and any tips to improve your chances, as well as a possible way to get a boarding pass without using your phone or the app. First things first, you will need the app, but as I just mentioned, we're going to hopefully show you a little later a way to do this without the app, assuming that's still in play. But for now, we'll open the app and take a look. And again, let me reiterate, this is from last year. This is from January 2020. No guarantee that this is how it's going to operate when we get back to the parks in a few days. We'll start on the home screen, and on the front page, you can see in the introduction to the Rise of the Resistance boarding groups. There you can hit Find Out More. And you can see that the queue has not yet opened. In this case, it was prior to 8 a.m. So you go back to the home page and you wait. As soon as it's 8 a.m. in 0 seconds, you hit that Find Out More button. You don't want to get in before that. And what you're looking for is that Join Boarding Group button to turn orange. And when it does turn orange, you smash that button. Now, if you're lucky, it's just you on the app. But if you're like many, you may have several other tickets attached to your app because you created a party so that only one person was in charge of getting fast passes, which is a good strategy. But in this case, it means you have to remove any guests or tickets that are not in the park with you that day. And that is the case on this occasion. I had to remove all of them. Not sure if this will be the case come May, but again, this is just a primer on how things looked a year ago. But once you get everybody removed, you can click Continue. And if you see a group number, that's it, you've done it. A group number is the order in which guests are called to the attraction, so the lower the sooner. Group 1 could proceed immediately to Rise of the Resistance. Group 69, they got some time to kill. And then periodically throughout the day, you'll want to go back into the app and check and see how things are going. From the front page, again, you hit Find Out More. And at this point, they're still on groups 11 through 27, so I can continue enjoying my day at Disneyland. Eventually, though, you'll get a push notification from the app telling you your boarding group has been called and to head to Galaxy's Edge. And that's actually pretty much the extent of the entire process. But there are a couple things of note. In the before time, you had to be in the park, as we mentioned earlier. You had to be in the park at 8 a.m. to get a boarding pass. The way they're doing this now, which is a kind of a copy of how they're doing things at Magic Kingdom now, or at the Hollywood Studios in Walt Disney World, the queue will open up at 7 a.m. Parks open at 9, so that means you don't have to be in the park to make your reservation. You have to have a pass and you have to have a reservation, but you could be anywhere and try to get a boarding pass. You could be in your car, you could be at Starbucks, you could be at home. But wherever you are, be ready at 7 a.m. because just like before, I do think that they will be selling out almost immediately. Now, as we mentioned, if you don't get a pass at 7 a.m., there will be another distribution at noon. You can try again at that point. And I believe that they are, that they're splitting it as opposed to doing 100% of the distribution at 7 a.m. or at 8 a.m. a year ago. They're doing, they're going to split it maybe in half or something to that effect. Probably more in the morning than in the afternoon, but some sort of split of the distribution. Also, be sure to remember that you have to have Disneyland as your starting park in order to get that 7 a.m. Distribution time. That means you either have to have a single park ticket for Disneyland or a park hopper that starts in Disneyland. If, for example, you have a park hopper, but you start at DCA, you are not eligible for the 7 a.m. distribution. You have to wait until noon for that distribution, and then when you park hop at 1 p.m., then you can go ride Rise of the Resistance. Okay, next, we mentioned that there is actually already a virtual queue in place in the app today. You can see that. Just go to the home page. From the home page, click those 3 lines in the lower right-hand corner. Then click Virtual Queues. Then click Join Boarding Group. And then you can see that only Rise of the Resistance is available in those queues right now. But I will say that the inference here, the way they have to set up, before it was just a single link on the front page, on the main page, go join a Rise of the Resistance boarding queue. That's all there was. But now they've got a whole separate module built into the app, which suggests to me that Rise may not be the only attraction that has a virtual queue. They haven't said anything otherwise, but it looks like they're at least getting prepared for that. So that's a possibility to look forward to. But for now, as you can see, Rise of the Resistance is the only attraction in there. Obviously, you can't get one, but you could still, it does look kind of a little bit different, but in the big picture, I don't think that this will operate very much or very differently than what we've just observed. And by the way, you'll notice that that was a few clicks to get into that process, which can create a bit of anxiety for those of us who are trying to get there right at 7 a.m. and get this thing done. Having said that, that's why I think they will also have a direct link on the home page, on the very front page, at the top of the screen in your app, to just go one click into the to join a boarding group, just like it did a year ago. So how does one improve the chances of their getting a Rise of the Resistance boarding pass? Unfortunately, there's no real hacks per se. I mean, there's no secrets to divulge here, but there are some best practices. First, try to be in an area, if you can, where there's no bandwidth issue. Somewhere with a strong Wi-Fi signal. Maybe even if you're lucky, you can do it from home. That would probably be preferred. I know that's not possible for some of you, but if you have that ability, if you live close, let's say, and you're not trying to be there at 7 a.m., give that a shot. Okay, next, if the process is anything like it was before, pay attention to how your parties are set up in the app. All right, if you have multiple people in your party, a lot of people in your group going to Disneyland on this day with you, and they're all trying to get Rise of the Resistance boarding passes, I highly recommend putting all of them into one person's party on one app. Scan all those tickets into one app and have that one person in charge of trying to get the boarding party. If everybody's trying to get their own, then they could be in different boarding parties at different times of the day. Heck, they probably will not all get a boarding pass to begin with. So definitely try to get everybody into one app. Conversely, make sure that there aren't any tickets scanned into your party that aren't in the park. The app will not let you join a boarding group if you've got people in your party that aren't in the park, that don't have their tickets scanned for that day. Just as in the case with the example I showed you earlier, where I had to remove Ron and Ian and all those guys because I was traveling solo that day. That takes a bit of time. Seconds are crucial. It could be the difference between getting an early boarding party and a very late boarding party, or even not getting one at all. So it might be a good idea, actually, if to delete those tickets from your app in advance of trying to join the group. It's not a big deal, really. You can just rescan those tickets back into your app later on. Assuming, of course, you have the actual ticket or you have access to the barcode. You'll need those things to get them back into your app. Now, I did also mention that there may be a way for people without a smartphone or who don't want to use the app to get or to join a boarding party. And it could be kind of a hack in a way. Disney used those old school FastPass kiosks that you find out in front of the attractions to distribute boarding passes for Rise of the Resistance last year. Rather than using the app, you would just go up to one of these old-fashioned kiosks, put in your physical ticket, put that into the FastPass machine, and it would spit out a paper boarding party reservation, just like a FastPass. Now, it wasn't all of them. I don't think that they used the whole thing. It was just select FastPass machines. If memory serves, I want to say it was Splash Mountain and Buzz Lightyear and maybe a third that I can't remember, but it was just a couple of them. It was just a few. Now, the catch was, though, you had to be pretty much first in line, to get one of these. Splash Mountain, I think, had 3 kiosks or 3 machines. I think Buzz Lightyear did as well, so it's not like there was just the one. But you pretty much had to be very, very close to the front of the line to have any chance at this. But if you did manage that, then you had a pretty good chance of getting a reservation. This is because it is my belief or my understanding that they had a separate amount of reservations set aside for these FastPass kiosks, that were separate from the ones that were being distributed with through the phone. So they weren't connected. You could sell out of one and not the other. Now, all of this, though, is speculative because I'm not even sure if they're going to be using that system, come April 30th and May 1st, et cetera, going forward. I don't even know. In fact, for what it's worth, I would still recommend using the app, using your phone to get a reservation. Trying this FastPass method is kind of risky, in my opinion. There's far more reservations going to be available through the app than there would be through the traditional kiosk. But like I said, for those of you who just refuse to have a smartphone or don't want to use the app or whatever, there is still a chance at least. And I think that's about it. This video will likely not age very well. I do think that there will be some changes to the system and we'll have to go through all this again. But at the very minimum, this is a useful primer to refresh your memories on how it went, or maybe you didn't get to do it at all last year and you have no idea how it works. In that case, this is going to be a useful video for you because you're going to be warmed up. You're going to have at least an idea of what to expect when the process starts. So hopefully this helps. Obviously, stay tuned to FreshBaked for more on this. We're going to be trying to get a boarding party or a boarding pass. I keep saying boarding party. We're going to be trying to get a boarding pass on April 30th, and then we'll document our travails as far as that goes and let you guys know exactly how it works as soon as possible. Otherwise, follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked and on Twitter at FreshBakedDizzy. That's fresh with no E. Thank you guys very much for watching. Do be safe out there. Be kind to one another. And we'll see you next time. FreshBaked.